Welcome to the 10th edition of the TLU Bulldogs Athletic Salute to Seniors, and we're joined today by Texas Lutheran baseball senior, the catcher for the Bulldogs for the last really 5 years, Spencer Brandt. Spencer, how are you doing today, and thanks for joining us.
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Well, Spencer, you spent a lot of time behind the plate with the Bulldogs. You redshirted 1 year and then spent the next 3.5 years, didn't quite get to finish that fourth year with the Bulldogs, with the season coming to a premature end. But I want to take you, talk about those years behind the plate with you and show you some video and just get your reactions to watching some of this stuff, some of the highlights from you and your teammates' careers, particularly from the 2018 season when you guys went to the national finals, the World Series in Appleton, Wisconsin, and finished as the national runner-up. So you know what this first one's going to be, as I gave you a little sneak preview a little while ago. So I'm going to hit screen share screen. And here it is. This is bottom of the ninth, SCAC semifinal against Southwestern. The bases are loaded. It's a 3-2 count. And I think we counted up the number of pitches in this at-bat at 12.
Yeah, it was something up there.
Yeah, it was up there. You kept fouling off pitches, and fouling off pitches. And then finally, on pitch number 12, this happened. So a walk-off walk for you there. And what was going through your mind during that at-bat?
Man, really, I just got in there and I knew I couldn't lose the game, obviously. Only thing I could do was win it for us. I kind of played the scenario. It was weird. Before the inning started, we went up to bat, and I kind of counted who was all in front of me and what the scenario would be if I came up to bat. And I knew it would have to be 2 outs, bases loaded, for me to come up to bat, and sure enough, it happened. So I was kind of mentally prepared for the situation. I got on deck, and I was just kind of hoping for my chance to win the game for us. This is something that you always – I never dreamt of it being a walk-off walk. Obviously, everyone dreams of it being a walk-off base hit, walk-off home run or something, but something I've always dreamt about, walking it off and winning something for my team, just doing the best I can. And I was just in the at-bat. I was just thinking, just wait for my pitch. I got plenty of pitches that I could have put the ball into play. Didn't work out, fouled them off. I know Cole Irby is just going to laugh whenever he sees this video, because I remember from the interview, all he ever does is make fun of me when I said I used to work hard in the cage, but I would just put myself in scenarios and I was just determined that I was going to win the at-bat and I wasn't going to lose.
Coach Burnett called that one of the greatest at-bats he'd ever seen. And do you ever think about what that whole season might have been like if you don't come through there? I mean, it's a tournament situation. You were the 3 seed in that tournament behind Centenary and Trinity. You had beaten Trinity the night before in a good ball game. And then you have to play a very tough Southwestern squad. And if you don't win that game, you're facing elimination, I think, later that day. And so you ever go back and think about what might have been?
I think about it sometimes, but in no way, shape, or form did I think that this was the moment that we were destined to go to the World Series. We knew from the very beginning that we had a solid team, that everyone doubted us, and that just kind of fueled the fire. We knew that if we didn't win this conference tournament, that we probably weren't going to get a bid because we weren't really on the map yet. But no, I wouldn't worried if we wouldn't have won this game. I had no doubt in my mind that we would have came back and won and still done the same things that we did.
So we'll go forward a little bit here. The next clip will be from the next day. This is you behind the plate, framing it for Dylan Durgach.
Yeah.
That wins the conference title for the Bulldogs, their first SCAC championship, and sends them to the NCAA tournament. I was hoping you weren't going to really hurt Dylan there. We'll pause it here, but we'll go back a little bit to that moment where you are rushing him, and you're a big guy, and he's a big guy too, but not as big as you, and you really take him down there.
It was actually something we have talked about. Me and Durgach and Chad Curtis, we've been roommates whenever time we traveled that year. And it got to the conference tournament and we won the first 2 games and we knew we were going into championship Sunday. And of course you could see we were wearing our championship golds. And we talked about it, and Durgach knew that there was a possibility that he could come in and close that game. And we talked about it the night before, how cool it would be just to go out there and close it out. And I told him, I said, be prepared, because if that happens, you're gonna take a hit. And he said, bring it on. And just in that moment, I just was super happy. Something I'll never forget, that's for sure. It was great. Every single one of those guys contributed, and it was one of the greatest teams I've ever been a part of.
We'll go to the next tournament. The Bulldogs advance to the NCAA tournament and win some crazy games. Started off the regional tournament against Concordia, Texas, a very tough ball club, as we know from over the years, winning 9-8. So you get a one-run win there. You battle back against probably the best closer in the country, Traxler. But you score some runs off of him and win that ball game. Going to the next day, and actually there's even a rain delay. So you have a day off. You play University of Texas at Dallas. You get a walk-off hit by Eric Rabinowitz. And then that puts you in the championship final. Now, actually, you got to play Willamette one more. You got to play Willamette.
Yeah.
You beat Willamette once. They come back and get back to the championship final. They've got to beat you twice on the final day. They get ahead of you. And then you battle back. The team battles back. You go into extra innings. Durgach comes in again, doesn't quite get the save. And then you go into extras. And with Ben Marvin at second base and Keaton Boyson at the plate, this is what happens. After we see the dog pile at the SCAC championship game one more time. So there's Keaton delivering the hit that sends the Bulldogs to the College World Series. Ben Marvin scoring from second. What was your vantage point for that hit, and what was going on there?
I'll never forget exactly where I was at. So that inning, I was going to get pinch hit for, and I believe I did get pinch hit for. I'm not too sure. But I remember I wasn't mad. Obviously, I just wanted to win no matter what. And I remember I went down to the bullpen once we got a runner on second base. I went down to the bullpen, and I was just kind of pacing back and forth. And I remember Hines and a bunch of the pitchers down there, and they're looking at me like, God, this dude's crazy. And I was just pacing back and forth. And then I remember Keaton was at bat, and I was still in the bullpen. And half of the pitches, I wasn't even looking. If something good would happen, whatever I was doing that pitch, I would do it again. But I remember I saw the hit, and I knew right away, and I took off on a dead sprint, first towards the dugout because I didn't want to run in the middle of the field, obviously. But then straight to the dugout, and then as soon as Ben slid across home, just wheeled into the dog pile, and it was great. Definitely another thing I'm never going to forget, those dog piles. Even though you got a bunch of sweaty dudes laying on top of you, it's something I wouldn't trade, that's for sure.
Where are you in this? Let's rewind it a little bit. So where are you in the rush to get out to Keaton?
Probably not in the front, that's for sure, being my speed. I've watched this video multiple times, and I can't ever find myself. I really don't even know.
I think that's Durgach down there with Ben Marvin. And there's Matt Lemon going up the first baseline toward Coach Deering. And Coach Deering, the calmest guy in the whole park, just walking calmly across the field, doesn't even join the celebration, just walks to the guys, the fellow coaches back at the bench while everybody else celebrates. You had to feel for those Willamette guys. Just look at the catcher there, bent over, the second baseman as well. They just wouldn't go away. They were a tough ball club.
Oh yeah, they were a great team. I believe their relief pitcher, starting pitcher, one of them, his last name was Steindorf, and a little smaller guy, but that dude was good. He had a rubber arm on him, that's for sure. He'd come out and throw 120 something pitches, and the next 2 days, he's out there throwing again. So we knew we were going to face him. But yeah, hats off to those guys. It was really well-rounded ball club. I think we played them earlier in the season.
Yeah, you played them up in the tournament here in Texas, up in North Texas, and you saw Steindorf then too, and he was a close ball game.
Oh yeah.
So we'll go now to some World Series highlights. The Bulldogs advanced to the College World Series, the D3 World Series in Appleton, Wisconsin for the first time in school history in 2018. And we'll take you through a few moments here. We'll just let it play for a bit, and you'll see yourself in a couple of these highlights. There's Colley with the big 3-run bomb in the first game against Worcester. Worcester comes in as the number 4 team in the country and with the top offense in the country. But you and your right-hander, Nathan Malinovsky, y'all combined on a 4-hit shutout of the best offense in Division III that season. Here's the game-ending double play that you guys turned, and there you are coming onto the field, and there's you and Nathan celebrating after that 4-hit shutout. Take me through that ball game, and what do you remember from that contest against Worcester?
I remember first inning, kind of going into the game. We always give GB a hard time about it, but he was talking about their pitcher and how he's a dual-way player. He's probably going to be one of the best pitchers we've seen, and we didn't really realize our region's capabilities of pitching, caliber of pitching, until we got to the World Series, and we realized that, man, we're prepared for any pitching that we see because we've faced the best pitchers in the nation literally all year. So I knew that the way Nate was pitching, hitting his spots, he had every pitch in his arsenal. Probably his best game that I ever caught by far. And then seeing Colley's bomb in the first inning really just gave us a bunch of momentum. So this game right here, I had no worries. And then I feel like after we won this game, there was no looking back. We kind of got the fire underneath us that we knew that we could play with anybody, that we could beat anybody that we played. And it showed. So
yeah, that was really I think an eye-opener for a lot of people at the World Series. Who Worcester was the top seed in our side of the bracket. We were not, and to come out that first night, you guys win 7-0 with Nathan throwing a 4-hit shutout and a dominant performance all the way around by you guys. So you go throughout the tournament, and you end up losing a game to Concordia Chicago, but then playing a marathon game against Swarthmore, a 13-inning game. Then on the same day, you got to come back and you got to beat Concordia Chicago later that day. Or actually, you get done at 1:30 or 1 in the morning, and then you got to come back later that same day and beat Concordia Chicago to go to the final. So here's some highlights from some of those games. Here's the play in the outfield by Andrew Witten. Gets a guy trying to stretch a single into a double. And here's Riley Schaefer with an RBI single. And Witten came in to score. That was the very next inning. He had thrown a guy out at second and then scored. Here's Schaefer again with an RBI, and I think both you and Matt Lemon scored. There you are crossing the plate. And here you are with an RBI in that game. I think to put us up. That was the hit that put us ahead. And then there you are celebrating. And Coach Doong talks about you hitting his hand there and nearly breaking his hand. That's one of the final plays of that game, the first game against Concordia Chicago, that we had to beat them to stay alive. And then the next day, you got to come back and play them again. There's Matt Lemon with an RBI and Keaton Boyson scoring. And here's the big game-winning home run by Colley. Another monster shot out to left field. You going to miss playing with that guy?
Yeah, a lot.
And here's the final double play. How good were those guys in the middle infield?
Man, that helped us a lot, that's for sure. They were smooth, quick, clean. I think we turned more double plays that year than we have any other year that I've been playing combined. Those guys were smooth. They made everything look so easy. I knew a ground ball, if we could get it up the middle with the runner on first, that we were getting 2 outs every time. So, yeah, those guys helped us a lot.
So that those last innings there against Concordia Chicago, when you're having to battle back and get ahead and then hold them off, they were threatening there. in the ninth. What were you talking to your pitchers? And I have to go back here and look. That was Dylan Morrell on the mound in that last ground ball? What were you talking with Dylan about? Did you talk much? What were you trying to do with those hitters?
Oh, well, first of all, when Morel's on the mound, he's in his own world. You can talk to him. I don't know how much he's listening. But yeah, I was sitting there talking to him, calming him down, just trying to get him relaxed, let him know. I mean, I had all the confidence in the world in him. Every time he stepped on the mound, he had the mentality that nobody was beating him no matter what. And like we always said that he was a dog on the mound. He brought the spark to the team. He was one of the leaders of the team, and I just knew in that moment with him on the mound that we weren't going to lose. He wasn't going to let it happen. Anything he could do, no matter what, he was going to do it. If he had to go out there and throw left-handed, we'd have won the game. He wasn't going to let anybody lose. He wasn't going to let his team down. That's just the type of guy he is. Just all around great guy. Yeah, didn't have any worries in that moment. That's for sure.
And when you saw that ball hit, the pitch was up, and he, left-handed hitter for Concordia Chicago, hits the ball into the hole. But Marvin makes this play look so easy.
Yeah.
He just goes down and gets it and twirls around and throws a strike to Eric Rabinowitz. It's Ben Marvin at second. But when that ball was hit, all the confidence in the world that Ben's going to make that play.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Drill sets, we do that play every time. He works on that play. He's got the smoothest feet I've ever seen. In drill sets, he makes that play 100% of the time. We work on that play for these situations at that. Honestly, when he first hit it, I thought it was going to be a little too far in the hole and that we were just going to get one out, which I had to take it in that situation. But for him to be able to turn that double play, flip his feet, and get that ball to Eric, and get both of the outs and end the game, that was great.
Let's go back a little bit to the play what Thomas Varner makes the night before. Play at the end of the game. Is that you behind the plate, or is that Cam? That's you. Okay, so Drew Waller on the mound. Guy rolls a ground ball to third in the hole between short and third. What did you see on this play with Thomas diving for this ball?
Well, I knew off the bat that it wasn't softly hit, and I knew that if it would have got through, a run was probably going to score because the grass was pretty thick, and I think it was a pretty quick runner. I can't remember who the runner was, but I saw Thomas dive, and again, this is another play that he makes almost 100% of the time that during the drill sets, and I saw him dive, and I couldn't, from my vantage point, I couldn't really tell if he stopped the ball and fielded it or not, and then I see him hop to his feet and throw it over, and I was just kind of speechless. I was like, dang, that's probably one of the best plays I've ever seen. But yeah, he was locked down at third base, one of the most athletic third basemen I've ever seen. He might not have been the fastest, but he can play.
So here it is again. We'll rewind it a little bit. Drew Waller on the mound, trying to get the save, and here's what Thomas Varner does. This is to end the ball game. A great stretch by Chad Curtis at first. To look at some of those highlights from that magical 2018 year. How many days go by when you think about those times? You think about them pretty much every day?
Oh yeah, every day. There's always something that comes up, and if it's a saying, something stupid, some stupid saying that we used to always say because we had plenty of them, or just a picture that I come across or something. It always comes up about every day, and I'd do anything to go back and do it again. It was best sporting event, career, whatever you want to call it, that I could have imagined, and it was the funnest times ever with those guys. It was great.
And you're getting ready to graduate. You're gonna graduate. I guess you're basically done, right? You only had one class. What'd you have in the fall?
I took 4 kinesiology classes.
Okay. And then so now graduating, you started finals. You got some finals today, tomorrow.
One final tomorrow, one final Tuesday.
Okay, and then that's it. What does that feel like?
I mean, I'm not too worried about them. Pretty relaxed. Just ready to get it over with. Honestly, been 5 years of schooling is pretty tough, but if I could do it again, I would. That's for sure.
Did you give any any slight thought of trying to come back, because you technically would have been eligible to come back
Yeah.
if the NCAA, granted the waivers to people?
It definitely crossed my mind. Then I put into perspective. I don't know if how much more my knees could handle because it goes by every day, or my knees are just killing me. Shoulder was kind of bothering me this year, so I just kind of put it into perspective. I was already done with my degree.
Mhm.
Um, just kind of gave it some thought, and then decided on starting my career in the coaching field. So I'm not getting away from the game, just different advantage point.
Do you know where you'll be next year?
Not too sure yet. I got few options I'm narrowing down. I should know here pretty soon. So yeah, we're getting to the point.
Okay. Well, the pride of Yoakum, Texas, Spencer Brandt. Spencer, we thank you for joining us today, and thanks so much for all the great memories you've given Texas Lutheran baseball. We can't thank you enough.
Thank you for having me. Do it again in a heartbeat. It was great.
All right, Spencer Brandt, thanks so much.
Thank you.